The Trump administration wants you to believe that cities are burning, that chaos is everywhere, and that you need to be so afraid, which is classic fascism, by the way. Fascism requires an enemy and a crisis. You manufacture both by claiming internal threats are destroying the nation from within, cities burning, chaos everywhere, traditional order is collapsing. Then you promise to restore greatness through strength and force. Let me show you what I mean. Cut to the clip.
These are brave people, and it's very dangerous. And if they go even a little bit too far, they get into trouble, which is a shame. I protect them, but they get into trouble. But they're arresting very serious criminals, and they're getting them out of here. Okay, one or two more.
So listen, the only chaos that's happening on the ground is the state-sanctioned chaos, the police brutality, the brutality from ICE and law enforcement agencies. Portland is burning, though. That's what the president of the United States is saying, describing an American city. Not Portland has some challenges with its law enforcement, or ICE agents in Portland are working through some issues within their own administration. No, it's burning. It's a war zone. It's a dystopian hellscape where law and order have completely collapsed. This narrative has been pushed relentlessly. Portland is burning. Chicago is a disaster. Democratic cities are unlivable. You're not safe. Everything is falling apart. And if you only watch certain news channels or listen to certain politicians or podcasters, you might actually believe it. You might think Portland looks like a post-apocalyptic movie. You might think people are fleeing in terror. But let me show you what was actually happening in Portland when Trump kept saying this. Cut to the... Hey! Let's go! This is what's actually happening in Portland. A few weeks ago, we had the Portland Frog on here to tell us about what's going on the ground. And now we're looking at people doing jazzercise in the park. They're just working out, going about their normal lives. They are not fleeing a war zone. Nobody's running from burning buildings. Nobody's living through some dystopian nightmare. It's just people existing like people do in normal cities. Now, does Portland have some problems? I'm sure. Every city does. There are issues with the city under-resourcing people experiencing homelessness, like in many West Coast cities. There are debates about police overreach and public safety. There are challenges, but burning, come on. This is the disconnect we need to talk about, because this isn't just about Portland. This is about a deliberate strategy to make you afraid of your own American cities, afraid of certain communities, afraid of immigrants, so that way you'll accept increasingly authoritarian policies in the name of safety. Watch how this works. The administration creates a fake crisis. Cities are burning everywhere, chaos everywhere. You're not safe. Then they offer a solution: more law enforcement, more military-style raids and operations. And because they've scared you enough, you accept these things that you'd normally find completely unacceptable, like this. Cut to the clip.
I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for securing our border and putting America first. Let me deliver a message from President Trump to the world. If you are considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it. Let me be clear. If you come to our country and you break our laws, we will hunt you down. Criminals are not welcome in the United States. For too long, weak leadership has left our borders wide open, flooding our communities with drugs, human trafficking, and violent criminals. Well, those days are over. Under President Trump, we are defending American families and restoring their safety. If you try to enter illegally, you will be caught, you will be removed, and you will never return. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. If you break it, you'll find consequences. Strong borders mean a stronger America. President Trump is making America safe again.
I mean, watch that again. Really, look at it. This looks like a trailer for a Call of Duty game. Military operators knocking down doors, night vision, tactical gear. Like, we hunt them down. The fuck? This is how ICE is presenting itself, as hunters, as an elite military force conducting operations on American soil against immigrants. This is sick. This is sick and twisted on so many levels. They're using military tactics designed for combat zones against unarmed civilians, against families, children, people who are asleep in their homes. These are not enemy combatants or armed insurgents. These are people, often with children present or children being targeted, with the same tactics we use in war zones. battering rams at 5 a.m., flashbangs, overwhelming force and brutality against families in their homes and in American neighborhoods. I've seen it with my own eyes in real life here in LA. Think about that, what this all means. Tactics designed to neutralize armed enemies and Fallujah are being used on a mother and her kids in their apartment because somebody in their apartment is on a visa. And when you advertise a job by showing people hunting other humans, you know exactly what kind of person you're attracting. You're not getting people who care about fairly enforcing immigration law or who want to help communities or process cases justly. You're getting people who are specifically drawn to violence and domination. You're getting people who want to feel powerful by terrorizing the powerless. They position immigrants as prey. They want people who get excited about kicking down doors and zip tying children. They want people who will traumatize communities without feeling bad about it. When you design recruitment materials to appeal to the worst people and their worst impulses, to their desire for violence and control over others, you're deliberately building an agency of cruelty. This is happening in American neighborhoods, in schools, in churches, in homes, not at a border checkpoint or a distant conflict zone. And we're normalizing military operations in civilian life. We're saying it's fine for government agents in tactical gear to storm into neighborhoods. This is literally how democracies slide into authoritarianism and total fascism. You militarize enforcement against one vulnerable group, you normalize the tactics, then you expand those tactics. People get used to it, and before you know it, military-style raids in civilian spaces aren't even shocking anymore. They're just how things work. And look at the language. Hunt them down. Hunt them down. That's the language you use for animals, not mothers and fathers. That's what you use when you're talking about prey, not children who are just trying to survive. And if you are a white or European person in this country who is jazzed about this, where did your family come from? Because if you can see immigrants as human beings, and you see people fleeing violence as parents working impossible hours in jobs just to feed their kids, these are humans deserving of dignity and rights, and you think this shit is historic, you are sick. I like to believe that we are inherently good people, that we are tribal beings, and that we are, as people, are not naturally cruel to one another. That you have to really hurt people and train them to be this evil and crooked. And that recruitment video is part of that training. It teaches you to see immigrants as not human. Here's the other sick part. They're lying about what the job actually is. Most ICE work is paperwork. It's bureaucracy. It's processing forms and coordinating with courts and managing detention logistics. It's not this exciting cruelty work. It's administrative. But you can't recruit the kind of person who wants to hurt people by showing them filling out paperwork. So they lie. And they give those people who showed up because they want violence, badges and weapons, and legal immunity. And they unleash them on vulnerable populations, on people who can't fight back. Think about what happens when somebody attracted to that recruitment video shows up to arrest a parent at their child's school. Somebody who came to ICE because they wanted to hunt people. Somebody who sees immigrants as prey. Somebody who's been trained to use overwhelming force. And the trauma is super intentional. When ICE shows up at 5 a.m. with battering rams and tactical gear to arrest somebody for a visa overstay, which is a civil violation like a traffic ticket, the cruelty is all the point. The goal is to terrorize and to send a message to every immigrant community in America that we can show up anywhere, anytime, and with overwhelming force, and you can't do anything to stop us. Your homes aren't safe, your schools aren't safe, your churches aren't safe, nowhere is safe. This is state terror. The same administration telling you Portland is burning while showing you people doing jazzercise wants you to believe immigration enforcement requires military special operations tactics against unarmed civilians. There's a pattern here. We create fear about a fake crisis. We use that fear to justify extreme measures. We recruit lonely losers, people drawn to violence, to carry out those measures. We deploy them against the most vulnerable people in society. We normalize the cruelty. We expand it. Trump says cities are burning when they're not. Just to justify policies like deploying federal agents to cities against local officials' wishes, conducting mass ICE raids in neighborhoods, schools, churches, anywhere, militarizing immigration enforcement with people who want to hurt others, and using combat tactics against civilians, terrorizing entire communities, all while framing it as heroic and it's work because a lot of people actually believe that lie. People believe Portland is burning. So they will think, well, I guess they need the tactical teams. I saw some smashed windows and some tagging. They think, well, I guess we need to hunt people down. But it's all based on a false premise. The crisis is not real. Let's talk about what is real. Undocumented immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than US-born citizens. They're not invading. Maybe if they overstay your visa, they're not crossing borders illegally. They're working in jobs, some in exploitive conditions, contributing to the economy greatly, trying to provide for their families, and they're being hunted down by an agency full of losers that deliberately recruits lonely loser people attracted to violence, gives these lonely, angry loser people military weapons and teaches them about military tactics and tells them, go off into these communities and terrorize people. Meanwhile, the government is still shut down. 6.5 million babies are losing access to formula through WIC. Federal workers are not getting paid. School lunch programs are running out of money. 155,000 kids are at risk of losing housing. But ICE has plenty for funding, advertising, tactical gear, recruitment videos that make them look like they're hunting terrorists instead of arresting parents at elementary school pickup in Kansas. We can't afford to feed hungry children, but we can afford to militarize immigration enforcement based on lies about burning cities and manufactured threats. Here's why this matters beyond just immigration. Once you accept that the government can manufacture a crisis to justify authoritarian overreach and measures in one area, you've accepted it for all areas. Once you accept military tactics against vulnerable populations, you've normalized them to use it against anyone. Today, it's Portland is burning just to justify militarized ICE hunting immigrants. Tomorrow, it's some other manufactured threat just to justify some other extreme measure against some other group. The playbook doesn't change. We are always going to see them creating fear, offering authoritarian and fascist solutions, recruiting fucking losers who want violence to expand power, repeat, and every time it works, the tactics get more extreme each time. We went from secure the border to separate families to hunt them down in recruitment videos. What's next? What happens when they fully normalize military operations against civilians in American communities? We're almost there. Who becomes prey? Notice who gets militarized enforcement and who doesn't. When wealthy people exploit tax loopholes, we don't send tactical teams down to their homes at dawn. When corporations break labor laws, we don't make recruitment videos about hunting them. When bankers commit fraud, we don't use battering rams and flashbangs like we do on communities in Los Angeles. But when immigrants, often the most vulnerable, powerless people here in society, who are here with or without documentation, which is just a civil violation, full militarized treatment, hunt them down, raid their communities at 5 a.m., separate families, traumatize the children. The militarized action is reserved for people who are powerless, for the people who can't fight back, for the people who have always been successfully dehumanized in the public imagination through videos exactly like the one you just watched. And it's all justified by lies, except there isn't. People are doing fucking jazzercise in the park while the president says their city is burning. Families are living their lives while being framed as threats requiring militarized response. This is how fascism works. We invent a threat from within, chaos, or disorder. Those people, then they present themselves as strong leaders. Trump is presenting himself as a strong leader who will restore order through force. The threat doesn't have to even be real. Portland doesn't actually have to be burning. You just have to believe it. And if you've enjoyed this video or it's expanded your perspective, please take a moment to subscribe. We are well on our way to getting our subs back from our occupied channel. We're so grateful you're here. Share this video with somebody who needs to understand that this is not fucking okay. And we'll be back with more.